Alright, so I've decided I'm going to aesthetically change the way that this looks quite a bit. And so the first thing I have to do that is disassemble it, which isn't really something that I want to do considering I've just finished assembling it. But I'm going to have to cut the stock down in order to do what I want to do, and take all the parts off of it to work on the stock. Eventually I have to take all this off the back here too. But yes, that's the focus for today, is just to break it down and put all the parts in the bag so I don't lose them. Okay, there's my screwdriver. It's got the bits in it. It's a simple tool like this is all you need to take most of it apart, except for, as you see later, I will have some complications. So I'm taking the top of the pan off, which comes out easily. I really want to pin that in. The screw doesn't tend to stay in as well, even though I've tried to glue it, so I'll probably end up drawing out and pinning it in. So flipping it over to take the screws out of the other side, and these screws go clear through the stock and are what fasten the plate to the actual stock. Now, one of the great things since I lacquered this was that it helps hold the plate and the barrel in pretty good too. So even though I have these screws in, it's like an extra added layer of security. So I'm pulling them out right now, and flip it over here, and I need a larger bit. So that's what I was getting out here. So I'm pulling these back out. One of the problems I've run into with that plate, and why I might end up making a new one, was the metal I actually used is a little bit thinner than some of the reproductions now, even though it's about the same thickness as a lot of the originals. Where I threaded it, the threads have kind of pulled out on it. So what I'm going to have to do is maybe make a new plate, put all the parts on it, or I could just rethread it in a larger size. But the front one is the one that's pulled out, the back one is fine on the plate. But as you'll see, I've got kind of an odd setup. The spring isn't actually on the lock. The spring is on the, it's actually around the back bolt that goes through. It's a coil spring, and then it pushes down on the trigger bar, and that's what resets the trigger bar, so there's not an actual spring on there. Now, right here is what's happened, is the lacquer has held that plate on there, so I'm trying to pull that screw back out a little bit and pushing it up to the other side. But that was the issue I ran into here, was the lacquer holding the plate in. As you can see, it comes off fairly easy. Yes, see there, it comes off, and I'll show you quick. I'm going to do another video later on the actual mechanism and how it works, but right here you can see it's fairly straightforward. There's not really a lot complicated about it. I may have point to use all stainless steel parts, except for apparently that bolt that holds the sear to the plate. So you see I got that spring wrapped around that was kind of a simple solution for a problem. I couldn't figure out how to make a spring to go onto that. I tried, and I'm not a metallurgist or anything like that. I've heard from people though that you can use hacksaw blades, but the amount of force that was required for that lock, that just wasn't working out either. So coil springs are cheap. I bought a giant bag of them for like $5. I found one that fit and would work, and so that's what I went with, and it works just fine. So for this gun, that's what I'm going to use. I'm backing these bolts out. Now that I'd removed that bolt, figured I would speed through that. Now's a part that you may find incredibly entertaining, and I will be editing quite a bit of it out, but this is very simple. The trigger bar is actually made out of a stainless steel tent stake that I beat into shape, and it's just held in with a single little wood screw. So the problem is none of these bits are actually narrow enough at the end to go into the screw head. So I will wrestle with this for quite some time, and it will be very ineffective. I will get frustrated and go inside and get a pocket knife and attempt to use it, and that will not work. So eventually I will use one of the best tools that I've ever found for these sorts of projects, which is a butter knife, which works very well. So I'm going to save you all the pain and misery of watching me suffer through all of that and go ahead and cut to after I've taken the screw out. So there it is, the tool of champions, which, as you will see, goes right in, works right away, takes the thing out in about 10 seconds. So, you know, always use the right tool. So the right tool here was a butter knife. Right, there's the senior bar that I made. And as I mentioned in a previous video about this gun, the stock was not made for the type of gun that I made at all. It had been actually pre-cut a little too small for even the Kentucky rifles. And so a lot of modifications that took place on this, and when I got it, a barrel channel had already been roughly cut into it, but a lot of meat had been taken out on the back end, and so there was that, and then I had to take more out to put the plate in. So it's effective though. So I'm just taking this screw out of the back, and then I'll have a screw up in the front too that I will remove. Actually I have two underlugs. I didn't put a ramrod on this gun for aesthetic reasons. I may, in the mod, I may put one in, but the reason I'm disassembling this gun, and I'm going to redo it, is I'm actually going to cover the entire thing in beads and jewelry and that sort of thing, and then gild the whole thing. And I've got some examples of what I want this to look like when I'm done, but yeah, it'll be kind of like a rough version of those. So I got to take this stuff off the stalks though, because I actually need to cut the side of the barrel part of the stock and the bottom down about 1/4 inch, because as I attach the beads and jewelry, it's going to make it stick out a little bit more, and so it'll make the grip a little too thick for me. So that's one of the things I'm going to do. I'm also going to silver leaf the barrel, I think, as well. So I'm going to gold leaf and gild the stock after I put all that stuff on. Then I'm going to silver the barrel, just because I think that's what I want to do, and I want to work on the lock some more. Maybe do either a new lock plate or do some work on that lock plate. I'm not sure yet, but yeah, I'm putting all the parts there and the tools into the bag, wrapping it up, tying it, and I'll put it with the stock when I put it away, because I have a habit of misplacing lots of things. I forget where I put everything, and so if I just put it with that, then that's it. So here I'm going to pop that barrel out. The pan, I actually used a Dremel tool to grind the inside of it out of a piece of steel, and then had my uncle help me and tack weld it to the bottom. So I use this ramrod, which I accidentally stole from a friend of mine. He let me borrow it last time we went to the range, and I forgot to return it. So sorry, Ben, but get that back to him as soon as possible. So yes, now I'm trying to pop that out. There we go. And again, the lacquer really held that in there. So, you know, where it's been in it for a while, and the heat and the cold, and expands and contracts, and, you know, science. So, yeah, so I'm not going to take the padding or anything off the back today, because there's no real need to. Yet, I'm not ready to start doing stuff, but yeah, so that's pretty much the disassembly of the gun that I made. Thank you all for watching. Please, you know, like and subscribe if this is the sort of thing you like to see, and share on your social medias.